Hello and welcome to this edition of the We Are Motor Driven podcast. And it's a special edition. On this episode, this is Jennifer with Auto Exotica and the Median, and
I'm Harvey Briggs with Rides and Drives.
And Paul Harold with Sons of Speed.
we are missing Brendan this evening because he had family business to do, but we do have a special guest tonight, who is
Nik Miles from Test Miles.
And we have a special project that Nik has done for 4 years now?
Yeah, 2022.
2022 is when he started.
Depends on how you add it up.
Okay. Because that first year was a heck of a year.
Right, it definitely
wasn't
was.
official.
Yeah.
So what we are on right now, Harvey and I are with Nik on the road on a project called Operation Frodo, which is a beagle rescue that we're going to let Nik talk about. And Paul doesn't really know about Operation Frodo, so he's going to be the questionnaire.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is about, so...
It's definitely an exciting adventure. So Operation Frodo started in 2022 because I had been sent a list of adoptable dogs in from a rescue, I would say, called Basset and Beagle Rescue of the Heartlands. And they actually operate over 5 states. And looking through this list of dogs, I had seen this dog that I thought was the dog I just lost, who'd passed away. And taking a closer look, it was very similar, but it wasn't the dog. And so I went and talked to the rescue, come to find out that this dog had been a result of fielding, which is a terrible thing that happens in the Midwest, and it's not technically legal, but overlooked by many of the authorities, is where dogs at the end of the hunting season get dumped into the woods because they're no longer good hunters or useful. And they end up not being spayed or neutered. They wander into towns. They multiply. They're always starving. And so if a pregnant dog ends up in a shelter at the end of hunting season in September, you're overwhelmed by puppies come the beginning of December. And so Frodo, this dog who I eventually ended up adopting, needed to be transported to the Northwest. However, this rescue really needed a truck, and I had built a truck with Nissan that they were quite willing to accept, but it was too big to be shipped. And so I was at dinner one night and said to these guys, how could we get it out there? And they said, pick me, I'll drive it, I'll use my air miles. And suddenly it went from me trying to work out how to get a truck and get a dog to this band of merry men and women. Elizabeth Williams was along for the ride, who wanted to drive out this truck. And then it went from 1 dog that was coming back to the Northwest to 4 dogs. Well, the plot thickens because it was one of the worst winters they have ever seen in Wyoming, and we ended up face down in a ravine in snow, and there was 2 inches of ice on the road, and it was minus 70 degrees, and the adventure came right because I'm still here, but ultimately these 4 dogs came to the Pacific Northwest through sheer gut and willpower of all these people involved. And so at the end of it, when everybody was, are you going to make it? Are you going to live? And we really thought it several times that, people were losing their lives right in front of us on the road. We thought we wouldn't actually make it home. We did. And the first phone calls I fielded from Harvey and Jeff and Elizabeth after is, can we do it again next year? and I thought, yeah, why not? Let's make this an annual thing and move dogs from an area of overpopulation to an area which would quite freely accept beagles. And so Operation Frodo was born. The subplot to this is, my parents had Meriadoc and Pippin. I had Bilbo and Samwise. And so when this dog was called Frodo, it just seemed it was written in the stars. And so we have been doing Operation Frodo ever since. And as of to date, I think it's 85 dogs when we get this bunch safely home.
We still have one more leg to drive tomorrow from Boise to Portland. We are going to the Asher House in Salem, Oregon. Asher House, Lee Asher does an amazing job. He's got like a 240-acre sanctuary. He has over 100 dogs there that he
His own dogs.
Yeah, that he cares for, and he takes in dogs and gets them ready and adopts them out. So that's great. Plus, he also has farm animals. He has horses and other things that he rescues. So
pigs and
go check out the Asher House on Instagram or whatever. His work is amazing. So he's going to be working with us. And then we're sending 6 dogs up to Seattle Beagle Rescue, who's been a partner with us ever since the second Operation Frodo.
And we already dropped off 3 little furry friends in Utah.
Yeah, at the Utah Beagle Rescue in Salt Lake. And that was kind of fun because one of the partners this year is Ineos. They gave us a Grenadier for the drive. And so we did that transfer at the Ineos dealer in Salt Lake. They hosted us and we did a nice little handoff ceremony there. That was fun.
So my understanding is that the drivers are all journalists, correct?
They are all involved in the automotive landscape in some way, shape, or form. Apart from journalists and content creators, as I think we're all now starting to call ourselves, we have people who work behind the scenes. So we have John and Jamie, who are those people that organize a lot of these events for manufacturers, and then Elizabeth Williams, who does do some writing, but she came from Rolls-Royce PR team originally. So
yeah, and we had Jen Greenfelder from Toyota this year, so she joined on the mission as a civilian.
Right. Our theme is that we are people who love the throttle. If it has a go pedal, we're pretty much in. And so anybody that loves the go pedal is involved in Operation Frodo.
Well, that means that Paul and Brendan need to do it next year because they are the sons of speed.
Yes. Yeah, the more I'm hearing about this, the more we want to join you guys next year. Sounds actually amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's a very fulfilling thing. It's great to do it with all these different people and get to know different journalists that I've seen at events but never really spent time with. And we're all here for one thing, and that's to get the dogs to where they need to go.
You don't know somebody until you've cried with them. That's definitely, and there's a lot of crying. At the end of the first time that this amazed me was the end of, I think, 2 years ago when we ended up at the Jeep dealership in Oregon. And I'm standing next to Jeff Zerschmied, who is 6'2" tall and is a big guy.
Yeah.
And this guy is just blubbering, standing next to me. And you know what happens when one person starts blubbering? We all start blubbering. So it's definitely a purging of the soul and the spirit. And you really get to know somebody when you've cried with them.
Yep.
And then one of the byproducts, I guess, is the fact that you are going in all these different vehicles, and then you get to switch off vehicles. So you're kind of also doing sort of an automotive, research and getting to know the cars as well as the dogs.
Yeah, it's a great real world testing environment.
It's a lab.
Yeah.
For more than one reason.
Yeah. One of the stories that coming out of this, I think Charisse is writing for Girl's Guide to Car, is which is the best minivan for dog owners. And so, because we had 3 minivans on the trip. So
you learn a lot about vehicles that you would never learn in a week's loan or going to an automotive event. The only things that you would learn as an owner, and then, like we always talk about this, that less than 0.01% of people who buy off-roading SUVs actually take them off-road. And so it's in a sense too that owners will never do what we have. They will never punish their vehicle in the way that we punish it.
Right.
And so it's a really good learning curve to how do I get more. It's a game of Tetris every morning. It's a game of how clean can you get your car, at night. It's definitely there's a learning curve.
So you mentioned the Ineos. What other vehicles are you guys driving?
So we have 6 manufacturers on board this year. VW, and this their returning year for them. They supplied the Atlas. Kia has the Carnival, which is, they like to call it an MPV, a multi-passenger vehicle. Subaru provided the new hybrid version of the Forester. Ineos have the Grenadier, and then on board as well we have Toyota. They provided the Sienna, which is the hybrid all-wheel drive minivan in that segment, and Chrysler provided the Pacifica. I want to say Pacifica, which again, it's a great test to do back-to-back driving with those vehicles. You learn what you like and what you don't like, and what you want and what you don't want when you kit them out at the dealership.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Has any car sort of stood out as far as like being the best of the best for hauling dogs?
They all have their triumphs in different ways. Like the Sienna, unbelievable on gas consumption. Like we're doing 85 miles an hour on the freeways, and it's getting 30 miles a gallon. It floored us in how well it was doing.
Right.
The Atlas, amazing for ride and drive quality. Like I'm amazed at that vehicle ever. The Atlas was always that vehicle that consumers would be stunned at a dealership, when you can have 3 car seats in the second row and you could still tip the seats forward without the children and get into the third row. That was always an astonishing capability of that vehicle. But that is just one layer of that onion. Every time I drive that vehicle, there's another layer of the onion that I understand.
And then there's things like in the Chrysler, the stow and go seats really make the ability to put crates and other things in the back a lot easier. So you find these different features in vehicles, and I mean, if you don't want a big vehicle, that Forester holds a lot of stuff, surprising amount of stuff for a vehicle that small.
So I'm going to jump in here. Harvey does a lot of the planning for this event, organizing the hotels and locations that we're stopping. And Harvey, why don't you walk us through like what a typical day is of Operation Frodo?
Well,
we got time.
First it begins with me getting up and doing the work I'm supposed to be doing during the day because I have a day job. And then at about 7:00, I start making sure people are getting their stuff together, meeting in the lobby. We've got a WhatsApp group chat that we're sending messages to everybody to be in this, pull the cars up, have everybody bring their gear down, make sure we get the right people in the right car with the right dogs.
And the right gear.
And the right gear. And then we're, typically on the road at about 8:00 in the morning, drive until noon, stop for lunch, which, found out, Jersey Mike's, who knew? What a great restaurant. Shout out to them. Their app is fantastic. They're ordering all the lunches on the road an hour ahead of time. We show up, they've got everything ready. And then we fuel up the vehicles and do the second leg of the drive wherever it is. And then we've had Jeff Zerschmied, who you mentioned, help coordinate all the dinners, and we have group dinners in the hotel because we have dogs that we have to take care of. So, when we stop, everybody's got to get out and walk the dogs and all that stuff. And then, everybody has puppies in their room at night. So, you're having these new friends cuddling with you every night. It's great. And it's just, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
I feel in a sense too, it's kind of like having kids, because you can never take your eyes off of them. You always have to think about what they're doing as a subsidiary to the list of tasks that you have to get done in the day. Last night, I was up until 10:00 at night washing my bed sheets because somebody got up on the bed and had a little accident. So
yeah, I can only imagine.
We're staying in hotels that you have the ability to do that, which is one of our plans. This is definitely not the royal treatment. We're getting our hands dirty.
As we say, this is not a press trip. This is a rescue mission for dogs. So we're not staying in the Ritz and the, shutters on the beach and things that we're used to as journalists. We're staying at the La Quinta Inn and Holiday Inn Express and, the most convenient place like We've had some people drive from Boise to Denver to Salt Lake City, and then they hopped on a flight there home. And we had some people come into Salt Lake who will drive Salt Lake to Boise to Portland. So there's all the logistics of getting people in and out and making sure, we're picking up people and making their flights.
And caring for the dogs is more than kids at times, because on this particular trip, the puppies are no paws on the ground. So they can't be running around in the grass. They have to be kept in, their little environment with tarps on the ground and things like that, because they haven't had all their vaccinations yet and they have some health issues.
Right.
So, there's all kinds of extra layers of things.
Yeah. And because of this, like some years we've had dogs that have been, rescued from medical testing labs. And so they might be super skittish. These are dogs that have never been out of a crate in their lives.
That's what I had last year.
Yeah.
I had 3 puppies who had never, ever been out of a kennel. And after 2 nights, of me laying on the carpet next to them and just trying to coax them out, they finally came out with tails kind of wagging a little bit, because you're going to be nice to me.
Yeah.
So there's, as Nik mentioned, a lot of emotions involved, you
Right.
know. I've been fortunate the last couple days to be with a dog named Bentley, who's 7 months old. And I woke up this morning and I'd left him out of his crate and he was on the pillow facing me in bed. And it was absolutely adorable. I'm totally in love with this dog. So.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've
Harvey, how many times have you done this exactly?
So we have done it every December since 22. So that includes 4 years. So 22, 23, 24, and 25. But there have been other rescues, last minute rescues where Harvey's jumped in a car on the East Coast and driven over a few states. There has been summer rescues. We haven't only done beagles. I think 2 years ago, we ended up giving a couple of terriers a ride who needed to get from A to B. So it's been, and this year we really opened it up our portfolio, as it were, with a lot of mixed breeds. One of the amazing stories that we are now part of is the Asher House story. And so if you see Lee Asher, you'll probably recognize him. And we've calculated he has about 100 million followers on social media, which is a lot of people. I mean, just his Facebook page alone has 20 million followers. And so you add in all his personal accounts and Asher House accounts. And he's a self-made millionaire. And he decided to, in COVID, drive the country with his 6 dogs in an RV. And he would stop at shelters and wouldn't leave until the oldest dog or the dog that had been there the longest got adopted. And so he became this sort of national hero for America during lockdown. And he started this organization called the Asher House. And the idea is basically to take in dogs and help the weak and the frail and those that couldn't defend themselves get adopted. And he bought a 240-acre farm, and he has 100 of his own dogs. And he walks these dogs in a pack. I mean, it's just Instagram is your friend if you want to learn about Lee Asher. And I reached out to Lee last year, and without skipping a beat, got a reply that said, we're into Operation Frodo. And so Lee, at the end of this Operation Frodo, Lee will have taken 20 dogs from us, which is quite an undertaking. And that really has given us the purpose to do it. And one of the things that is most amazing about this organization is there is nobody does anything for a reward in any way, shape, or form. These are people that are giving their all to give these dogs a better chance. The light went on for these dogs. Their chances of survival were pretty much zero until we managed to transfer them. The rescues were so overwhelmed. And so you have people using their own air miles to get places, buying their own tickets to get places, and then giving up their time to drive these dogs, in some days 13-hour drives.
Right.
So ultimately, it's one way, and we all chose to be in media. We're broke. It's one way we can do to donate back to the community without using physical cash is to do something like Operation Frodo.
Yeah, it's been it's really gratifying, and it combines so many things that I love, which is hanging out with good people, taking a cross-country road trip, being with animals. What could be better? And then at the end of it, seeing these happy families get their dog and knowing that dog has a future he never could have imagined, when that dog was in a crate in, somewhere in Omaha
and you see the transition. The most amazing thing is you see the transition. So I have a mother and a puppy, her female puppy who's about 8 weeks old. This puppy is going to a 9-year-old who has been asking his parents for a dog for Christmas for years. And on the local CBS station, he's coming to help us wrangle the dogs when I do one of my segments. So it's one of the stations I anchor on quite regularly. And I'm going to tell him on set that this is his Christmas gift. And so he's going to find out the dog is sitting on his lap is going to be his Christmas gift. But ultimately, it's those moments, it's changing these lives that make so much difference. And despite the fact that we all want to kill each other at the end of spending 4 days in a car together, cleaning up puppy spillage, let's call it, and listening to howling and barking and seeing your favorite whatever chewed up in the back, we're doing this for one reason, and that is to give something else a better opportunity in life.
Are you finding with each passing year, it's getting more recognized by media and people involved, and also just even like the hotels that you book? I mean, I'm sure they know who you are now, right? And making it easier for you.
Yeah, this is sort of a multi-part question here. So I'm very proud of the fact that we asked 6 automakers to participate this year, and every single one said yes. They didn't hesitate. The first 6 we asked, the first 6 answered with "we're in." Basically, that's the first thing. The second thing is, Boise isn't a very good geographical stop for us. It's a short day from Salt Lake to Boise. We can make it usually by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, whereas we could probably get another 4 hours driving. And we could even push on to Portland. But if we, for 1 second, thought about missing this hotel, I would have uproar from the people in Boise, because Mary Ann, who's the manager here, looks forward to us visiting every year. And you know what? She has bags in every room for the dogs when we arrive. Like there's gift bags awesome. for the dogs. Is it becoming more recognized, you asked? Well, the first year we did what we could, but I will tell you, since then, we've been on MSN's homepage every Christmas Day. It's been the story that MSN have had on their homepage. I'm proud of that.
That's awesome.
Maybe pride is a bad thing. We had 350 million impressions last year from the media. We had probably segments that ran on about 114 television station websites. We had articles in Motor Trend and Car and Driver, as well as all of the websites and the publications that the drivers have. We covered in all of these big publications around the country, like The Drive and Jalopnik and those sort of things. And journalists who normally get paid to write these articles, Tanya Gazdik offered to write a Jalopnik article for them for free if they would run it. So people are donating not just in driving and with money and with helping with food and that sort of thing. They're donating in the skill that we all have, and the reason we got into this is to tell stories.
And that stuff's really important because, that's how the manufacturers continue to then support projects like this and provide these press vehicles that we're driving across the country. So that exposure for this is incredibly important. And that's awesome. That's huge numbers.
Yeah, I'm blown away when you were talking about, the impressions and how much many people are following and getting involved. That's actually, I'm kind of speechless. I cannot believe on such a short time you've gained all this popularity with this program. It's kudos to you. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, I can tell you, like this is not something I can do on my own. I mean, without Harvey, this would be more of a uphill struggle than it already is. I would also tell you that we started this back in 2019, the organization, the founding organization, which was Animal Rescue Rigs, because we saw this need where shelters are raising money to rescue dogs, and they're using that money to buy vehicles. And originally we started Animal Rescue Rigs, which is the parent organization, a 501(c) charity, to raise money and buy those vehicles for the different rescues so they didn't have to do it. And this year, I think finally we may be able to start putting down deposits down on buying some secondhand minivans and things that would help these rescues, because the organization is big enough now that people want to help us buy them.
So building on that, where can people go to find out more information, to maybe even make donations or, get more information on the program?
Yeah, they can go to animalrescuerigs.com, and Operation Frodo is on the homepage of that website. And there's a donate button right there, so people can donate, and all that money goes directly to Animal Rescue Rigs, which both funds Operation Frodo. And as Nik said, we are going to be, because this need exists year round, we're going to be buying and prepping transport vehicles that these rescues can use all year round to move dogs, because that's the big thing we want to do, is we want to raise awareness of the fact that there are enough homes for every dog that's in a shelter in the country if we can get those dogs to where the homes are.
Yeah, it's strangely geographically specific for these dogs. Like, there's an overwhelming number of homeless beagles in the Midwest. Las Vegas has Oregon has a crazy amount of shepherds. And so wherever you go, we have dogs in different parts of the country that are overpopulated, where those dogs aren't in certain other parts of the country. And unfortunately, the Southeast does a pretty awful job of taking care of animals, and they have very lax laws. Texas is pretty much out of control with dogs in shelters. They're trying all the time to ship them out of Texas and send them other places. So there's definitely a need for moving these animals north and west to find them forever homes. I mean, even out of LA is overwhelmed with certain breeds. It's so funny to me that you have Frenchies in Las Vegas everywhere, and it's Chihuahuas in LA. So it's different horses for different courses.
Why did I know that already? I don't know why.
Yeah, so it's we have a big vision for this thing, and we're really going to start to ramp up and execute that over this year. And hopefully we can talk more about it on the podcast when we launch that part of the mission.
No, that's great. Have you thought of expanding to different cities, or you're just kind of focusing on the Oregon area?
So one of the things that is interesting, and there's many stories that go with this, we're the transport agency. We transport these dogs. We don't own them. We take care of them. We're almost like a nurse in a hospital. When you come in, we're responsible for you, and when you go out, you're back. Whoever else is at home is responsible for you. And so last year we had somebody that really was on the drive and really wanted to adopt a dog, and it was a battle of negotiating to try and get that person to work with the rescue to get the dog adopted, and they did. They got the dog adopted, and they drove the dog home halfway through the rescue. So they drove from Salt Lake all the way back to Michigan with their dog, and so it's hard, I think, for people really they need to understand a lot of the times that, yes, we do transport these, but we're beholden to the rescues themselves. We work very well with these rescues, Seattle Beagle Rescue, Utah Beagle Rescue, the Asher House, and there is such a need to move the dogs out of Omaha. If other rescues come forward and they say, we have 15 German Shepherds that we can move from Oregon to New England, we're in. But we're just a transport agency, so there has to be a need on both ends of the trip.
Right, and we'll talk to anybody about that, but it's just a matter of, right now we're doing it because
it's easy.
We know the route, but yeah, there's a need to expand this for sure.
Is there anything, any particular story, anything that stood out, that you just something heartwarming or whatever that you'd would love to share?
Well, I mean, there's always a lot of heartwarming stories because of this. One of the stories I heard last year that was actually horrifying, ended up being heartwarming was, I was talking to one of the people at the Basset and Beagle Rescue of the Heartland, and they had picked up 6 puppies. And I said, "Oh, this is great. Where did these puppies come from?" And they said, "Well, it was a puppy mill, and they had bred too many dogs." And the woman from the puppy mill had called the rescue and said, I have these 6 extra dogs. Will you take them? And she said, and the woman said, I guess so. And she said, well, either you take them or I'm going to kill them. And it's like, oh my God. And that's just the fact, that's what's going to happen to these dogs if the rescues aren't there to take them and we're not there to help transport them.
Yeah, when you're transporting a dog and you are the light switch to that dog's survival, and it's the beginning of their life once we get them where they need to go. The interesting thing is they've come from horrific situations. I have this mother and this puppy that would not come close to the front of the cage that they were carrying at the back of the cage, shaking. They'd been pulled out of sub-zero temperatures, living outside, and the human contact was not something they were familiar with. Now they're racing around my hotel room, and when I go to sleep at night, and they both probably weigh about 15 pounds. When the puppy is probably about 3 or 4 pounds, and the mum's makes up the balance of that, about 10 or 11 pounds. They're snuggled up on the pillow next to me, and that when we started this trip a few days ago, they wouldn't even come near a human being. We see the change in such a short time. The lives our intention is not to change the lives in the short term, but we're watching that change happening very quickly, immediately as we get hold of these.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's like I was saying earlier, just what happened with the puppies I had last year. And unfortunately, I only did half the drive last year. So I had to leave and handed off my dogs to another journalist, Elena Shore. And she's like, oh, good, I get to finish the job. She was so excited that they were coming out of the kennel. So, Nik, we can't thank you enough for all the work that you're doing with Operation Frodo, and Harvey, you as well. Very fortunate that Harvey's a regular part of our podcast, and I'm glad our audience gets to hear some of the stuff as well. And I'm very happy to participate.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely an amazing.
And it sounds like Paul will be on the drive next year, and Brendan, who's absent tonight, will probably get hornswoggled into doing the drive with us. So thanks again, Nik, for being on this episode. We appreciate you. Harvey, thanks for all the work you're doing on this. Paul, great to see you. Look forward to having you here next year.
Via Zoom this time.
Yep. So thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next time.